Honorable Madam Speaker and Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier, Date Makhura, colleagues in the executive, honorable members of this House, Director General and Head of Departments that are present today, CEOs of our public entities present here, leaders of various sectors of our society, fellow residents of Gauteng, Molweni, Dumelang, Sanbonani. Honorable Speaker, this is the first medium-term budget policy statement of the 6th administration, and it takes place at a time when our country is facing deteriorating economic and fiscal conditions. We have not escaped the scrutiny by international players in respect of the state as well as the tragedy we need to embark upon. We have noted last week's Friday Standard & Poor's global ratings revised our outlook to negative. Honorable members, we must collectively be able to respond adequately on how to create much-needed jobs, world-class infrastructure, skills for modernized economy, improved conditions of living regarding safety, the land question, social cohesion, and integrated human settlement. We must be convincing to our people that the investor community and the other stakeholders is about our determination as well as measures that we are taking regarding building a capacity of the state, fighting against crime and corruption, infrastructure and development, including technology. Let us have the courage to walk away from policies, programs, and projects which deliver no value nor relevance to what we want to achieve. The implementation of the entire Gauteng plan will be incremental, measurable, highly prioritized politically, and from the resource point of view, to maximize impact and results. It is essential, and it means that because President Cyril Ramaphosa said during his State of the Address that we need to prioritize, focus on those actions that will deliver the greatest impact, those actions that will catalyze faster movement forward in both medium term and over the next 10 years. The question is to why growth has been so elusive in an important one, and academics, researchers, and economics have referred to this question to structural problems of the economy, policy consistency and certainty, as well as reliability of energy and water supply. Honorable members, the 6th administration has put an ambitious plan to get Gauteng moving towards attainment of Vision 2030 and to address the challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality by an activist, caring, and ethical government that works with and within communities. So all of you, you know that if you want to achieve that, you must go back to basics. Communities are there for all of us. In his State of the Province address, following the elections, Premier David Makhura enjoined us in a binding collective vision of growing Gauteng together, which will allow us to meet the goals of 2030 National Development Plan. The Growing Gauteng Together is a plan that is built upon the transformation, modernization, and reindustrialization that was presented during the 5th term administration, and that was characterized by social cohesion and economic inclusion. The GGT plan is guided and anchored and is underpinned by the TMR, as I've indicated earlier on, the UN Sustainability Development Goals, African UN Agenda 2063, and South Africa's National Development Plan, which is 2030. This is an all-encompassing vision to ensure that no one goes to bed hungry, that we build the Gauteng economy that reflects the full diversity of our population, and where small and big businesses thrive and become prosper. A vision whereby everyone has access to quality of health care. All residents have access to basic services and quality infrastructure, and women enjoy their rights from all forms of patriarchy. A vision where the environment is protected and cared for. All human settlement promotes social cohesion and integration, where there is affordable and reliable high-speed internet connectivity, where there is efficient, reliable, safe, and affordable public transport, science, technology, and innovation support expansion of frontiers of human fulfillment and freedom. A vision where there is no racism, no sexism, no xenophobia, no homophobia, and other related intolerances, and a province where there could be no fraud and corruption and waste of public money. To achieve this vision that Premier Makura has announced it's got 5 priorities which will guide the implementation of the programs, projects and targets that we'll have set for ourselves in the medium-term strategic framework. These priorities, as you all know, it's economy, jobs and infrastructure, education, skills and revolution and health, integrated human settlement and land release, safety, social cohesion and food security, building a capable and ethical and developmental state. Madam Speaker, the global outlook for 2019 by the International Monetary Fund projects growth only 3.2%. The weakness in the global economy exists amidst weak manufacturing production and trade, and the escalation of economic policy uncertainty, which includes trade warfare between the US, China, and the ongoing debate around Brexit. South Africa is part of the global economy, and we are vulnerable to these global economic trends. The 6th administration started its term at a time when the economic outlook was also not looking good, with a continuing low growth trap and the rise in unemployment. The fiscal envelope is shrinking as public finances experience serious pressures. Delivering his medium-term budget policy statement to Parliament last month, our Minister of Finance, Tito Mboweni, underscored this point when he painted a sobering and difficult picture indicating that our economy is indeed not performing well and our national debt is increasing at an unsustainable pace. Minister Mboweni went on to announce downward revision to South Africa's economic growth rate. The economy is now forecast to grow at 0.5% compared to 1.5% projected at the beginning of the year, due to the uncertainty of power supply, service delivery protest, and tight fiscal policy, among other key constraints to economic growth. Importantly, however, the policy statement has also provided leadership direction and concrete proposals which will continue to guide us over the 2020 medium-term expenditure framework. Honorable members, Gauteng remains the economic engine of South Africa and the powerhouse of sub-Saharan Africa, with the highest population and the most urbanized. According to the most recent data by the Statistics South Africa, our province has approximately 15.2 million people, which is 25% of the national population. The largest share of the country's population resides in our province, which is Gauteng, because of its reputation as a place of economic opportunity, which attracts migrants from other provinces and other countries. MEC Masuku was saying, when Kosas see this basket, Yamendi, Pete, they are all going to come to Gauteng. The economy of Gauteng accounts 35.1% of the country's gross democratic product and key to trade and other connections between the continent's economies. In fact, we are the 7th largest economy in Africa. In the first quarter of 2019, the provincial economy contracted by 2.5% in tandem with the South Africa as a whole. Growth for Gauteng Province is projected to slowly rise to 1.8% in 2018, which is expected to be above the national average, which is of 1.7% in the same period. That's why I was a bit slow here, because we're moving slowly but sure, and the national is following us. The sectors that will propel this growth are finance, transport, construction, trade, including technology. Despite the significant contribution to the country's output, Gauteng's economy is growing far more slowly than the population. This creates a disappropriated burden on the social and economic infrastructure and provision of basic services, and critical on the capacity of the economy to absorb higher numbers of our people into a gainful economic opportunities. This low economic growth has a direct negative bearing to the fiscal envelope at a time when government is grappling with a crisis of unemployment and a host of other challenges that not only tighten the social fabric of our society, but also threaten to lock the country in various cycles of poverty and deprivation. Honorable Speaker, Honorable President Ubabu Cyril Ramaphosa, in his investment drive, has already made noticeable progress, attracting 300 billion in investment commitments during 2018 inaugural investment conference. It is very encouraging to note that 250 billion of these investment commitments are already in the implementation stage. The investment appetite for South Africa continues to grow, and that is why President Ramaphosa's 2019 investment conference that was held at the beginning of this month attracted 363 billion investment commitments. And this excludes 8 billion worth of investment commitments that are currently undergoing regulatory or board approvals. As Gauteng, we're better placed to increase the rate of economic growth. We're better placed to create jobs, and we're better placed to fight poverty because we're a leading destination of foreign direct investment in Africa. Almost 80% of the economy of Gauteng is mainly in the private sector. This includes a compact to invest in the growth and development of Gauteng economy. Madam Speaker, in the run-up to this medium-term budget policy statement, I interacted with many Gauteng residents through various media platforms about things that they think we should do to address the challenges that we are facing. Ma'am Johanna Mahlangu, who stays in Pretoria, who travels to her place of work in Johannesburg daily, told me that government must build factories to create more employment opportunities for people. Queen Baker, a resident of Boksburg, agreed with this view and added that many young people are on drugs as they are jobless. Ms. Mahlangu and Ms. Baker, we remain deeply concerned about the high rate of unemployment, which disproportionately affect young people, leading to societal problems like crime, drug abuse, and despondency. Indeed, the face of poverty and unemployment, even in Gauteng, remains Black and African in particular, especially for women and youth. This is one of the biggest tragedies that is facing South Africa and Gauteng today. For this reason, our vision of growing Gauteng together is about resolving the problems of poverty, unemployment, inequality in the short term, while addressing cynical barriers and implementing long-term plans to deal with structural impediments to the growth of the Gauteng city region. Madam Speaker, we need to enhance the ease of doing business in Gauteng because it's working through, because now we're working through Invest SA Gauteng, which is a division of the Department of Trade and Industry, to provide one-stop shop service to investors with the goal of establishing Gauteng as a preferred location for investment. Over the past 5 years, Invest SA Gauteng facilitated investment worth 10 billion in the Gauteng city region. A total of 6.9 billion of these are foreign direct investment, and the balance were domestic and indirect investment. Partnerships between the public and private sectors are also expanding through the Public-Private Growth Initiative. It has been stated that the private sector has committed investment of 840 billion in 43 projects estimated to create 155,000 jobs over the next 5 years. This will be supported by regulatory reforms to improve the ease of doing business through the consolidation of streamlining of regulatory processes, automating permit on other applications, and reducing the cost of compliance. There is a special focus on infrastructure investment with an infrastructure fund to be managed by the Development Bank of Southern Africa. Water infrastructure, roads, and student accommodation will be prioritized. The President committed rigorous feasibility and preparatory work, improving strategic management, incapable execution, and better governance of infrastructure projects. The Department of Trade and Industry and the World Bank have signed an agreement that aims to improve the domestic business environment and attract more direct investment in the country. Business regulation, investment and policy promotion, and market regulation and competition policy are the focus areas of the partnership. Honorable members, this sixth administration is actively participating in all these initiatives and as part of our efforts to aggressively facilitate investment and promote economic growth and development of our province. Our targeted commitment on enhancing inclusivity on the economy whilst improving competitiveness for the net benefit of our people. Honorable members, investment in infrastructure lies at the heart of stimulating economic growth in the province, necessary for dealing with the poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Infrastructure development also brings much needed stimulus and support to the economy through the vast number of positive spin-offs. These include growth stimulus through direct and indirect economic activity, increased employment opportunities, and enabling business environment. To respond to the bleak economic outlook that is not looking good, an Executive Council Lekgotla was convened under the leadership of the Premier to explore ways of financing catalytic projects through various sources of funding in order to unlock the full potential of Gauteng economy. In line with this, the Department of Infrastructure is currently finalizing Gauteng's 5-year infrastructure project pipeline. In preparation for 2020 MTEF, Gauteng Provincial Treasury has commenced with an assessment of the 5-year project pipeline to assess the readiness of projects against the required portfolio of evidence. The intention is to publish the pipeline annually in order to affirm the priority projects for each year, including information from municipalities, state-owned entities, and national government, and provide progress on delivery of pipeline projects. Honorable members, infrastructure departments are dealing with a complex and large infrastructure delivery of requirements. Without the appropriate systems for pipelining projects, spending in infrastructure will continue to be a challenge for departments. We will continue to improve the capacity of infrastructure departments to ensure that their planning, pipelining, and delivery systems that are needed are up to the scale to achieve our objectives. As Gauteng, we will continue to acknowledge that government alone does not have all required resources to meet our infrastructure needs. Therefore, our focus is on establishing partnerships, particularly leveraging on private sector financing for implementation of larger infrastructure programs and projects in the province. Madam Speaker, insignificant economic growth coupled with stubbornly high unemployment and the rising cost of borrowings indicates that the forthcoming budgets will be prepared from the perspective of resource constraints in terms of receipt from the national fiscals. Tough decisions must therefore be made in the light of increasing needs and extremely limited resources. 2020 MTF resource envelope must begin to confront this challenge through reorientating from administrative and consumption expenditure to service delivery items and productive assessment. One of the key deliverables for the Gauteng Provincial Treasury is to contain the provincial wage bill at a maximum of 60% of the total budget of the province. A concerted effort must be made by all departments to ensure that wage bill does not exceed this threshold in 2019, 2020, and beyond. The rationale for keeping the wage bill below 60% is to ensure that there is no crowding out of resources. Once the salaries have been paid, there needs to be money left for operational programs. We expect that the crafting of the 2020 MTF budget will be informed by the learner baselines. Departments will be required to utilize or spend within existing allocations to reflect the extent to which they respond urgently to tackle widespread unemployment, poverty, and perceived inequality. Honorable members, Provincial Treasury has been hard at work with all departments to realign 2020 indicative baselines, starting with the 2019-20 adjustment budget. In this adjustment budget, we have managed to realign an estimated amount of 47 billion within the existing fiscal envelope to the GGT priorities. Working together with departments, we will identify programs that are currently funded but that have run their course and reorientate these resources towards the 5 priorities that are adopted by the 6th administration. I will announce the outcome of this process in the 2020 Gauteng budget, which I will present to this House in March next year. Departments must implement baseline reductions with the least implications for service delivery. Departments will be expected to demonstrate practically how there is integration of related programs, such as food security, scholar transport, and so on. We encourage strengthening of partnership with private sector and civil society, given the prevailing fiscal constraints. Closer integration planning with other spheres of government, particularly municipalities, is also essential. At a time when Gauteng's population is steadily on the increase, owing to in-migration, we have to contend with the ability to roll out and resource the construction of new schools and classrooms in existing facilities and provide teachers and learning material. We also need to deal with the increased numbers assessing already strained health facilities and continue to provide social services to most vulnerable members of our society. Madam Speaker, we are also expected to work with limited resources to create enabling environment for economic growth and employment and support programs for poverty alleviation, such as food banks and feeding programs, as well as schools and homestead gardens, which are important in enhancing food security. As things stand, over the 2020 medium term, consolidated GPG spending is estimated at 441 billion, considering that the fiscal envelope highlighted above is not cast in stone. 2020 MTF budget will strive to change the composition of spending towards the stimulation of economic growth and attainment of value for money in the realization of service delivery priorities. We want a Gauteng that continues to promote good governance through the provision of sound fiscal stewardship. This work includes efforts to ensure prudent financial management, expenditure in line with policy priorities, and with public accountability and transparency. It also includes investing in improved outcomes for both provincial departments and municipalities, enhanced infrastructure spending, improved spending on conditional grants, increasing the collection of revenue for both spheres of government, and reduction of accruals. Honorable members, we need to get to basics right at the institutional level. I have taken strong guidance from the AG's results for municipalities and departments. We will be seeking regular inputs from the Finance Portfolio Committee on where they believe we must place our focus in assisting and supporting municipalities and departments. We will be mindful that within the ambit of the legislative framework that guides the Gauteng Provincial Treasury. Provincial Treasury is in collaboration with COGTA and have embarked on a serious drive with all designated municipalities that adopted unfunded budgets for 2019-2020 financial year. And we are assisting with support to move them towards the funded budget. Our drive is to assist municipalities over the current term of office to get them to a funded budget status through instituting fiscal plans. I remain resilient and resolute in my pursuit in this drive, although for some it will be difficult in the next year or two, but we will get there to all municipalities to be sustainable financially. Unfunded budgets are a sign that municipalities has a risk of a financial problem that would affect sustainability of their operations. Engagements with the mayors on their budgeting strategy and plans have already taken place. Municipalities were allowed a special adjustment budget process in order to undertake the necessary adjustment to achieve funded state of budget. 127 municipalities countrywide were placed on notice by National Treasury that their December tranche of the equitable share transfer will be withheld due to municipal councils having adopted unfunded budgets. I'm pleased to announce that due to our exerted effort, our affected municipalities adopted special adjustment budgets, and National Treasury will not be withholding the December tranche for the equitable share from any of Gauteng municipalities. I think we deserve a round of applause. As members of the House, you may be aware that Province has now instituted a formal intervention at Mfuleni Local Municipality and West Rand District Municipality, respectively, after their financial status and service delivery capability deteriorated. They continued service delivery challenges, and a declining financial liquidity state continues to affect the operations of these two municipalities. It must be noted that these interventions are not aimed at putting the municipality under administration, but only to implement the financial recovery plan to improve the functionality of these municipalities. Madam Speaker, we presented in this House 2 months ago that a total of 15 departments and entities of Gauteng government maintained their clean audit status in 2018-19 financial year. It is our concern that some departments and entities regressed from the audit opinions achieved in the previous year. All departments should commit themselves on a culture of transparency and public accountability by implementing credibly internal financial controls. In the 6th administration, the Gauteng Department of Health remains in that particular focus, given the immense pressures and challenges in the resourcing of healthcare services to the citizens of Gauteng. Despite the improvements in indicators such as increased life expectancy and reduced mother and child mortality, the financial well-being of the department continues to be a concern, given the persistence of accruals and the risk posed by the medico-legal claims. Provincial Treasury continues to work with the department towards finding lasting solutions to these challenges, despite the difficulty prevailing economic situation where we are in. Honorable members, there is a general agreement that infrastructure is a fundamental enabler towards delivery of services. 25 years into our democracy, we still face major challenges in ensuring that infrastructure projects are implemented in a manner that it provides value for money, achieves the best results for the money spent, and delivers maximum benefit from the very scarce financial resources of our disposal. A budget of 111.4 billion was allocated in the main appropriation bill for GPG infrastructure program for 2019-20 to maintain the improved condition of the existing stock and to provide additional infrastructure assets. This budget has been adjusted upwards by 199.37 million to 11.55 billion, mainly because on the performance of projects during the first 2 quarters. Too many of our projects are characterized by numerous cost and scope changes from the start of the construction processes due to poor planning and design, as well as poor contract management. Consequent management is necessary where service providers fail to perform and deliver in line with contractual obligations. In addition, the impact of how subcontracting and local employment are managed also contributes to further delays and poor performance. We initiated several interventions aimed towards improving infrastructure delivery. These require the full support and commitment from provincial departments and include, among other issues, the first one will be assessing the relevant portfolio of evidence for readiness before allowing the project to proceed from one stage to the next. The second one will be development of credible business cases before projects proceed towards procurement. Development of long-term infrastructure plans, which is, if it's a 10-year time horizon, and specific implementation plans for 3-year time horizon to ensure alignment and proper planning. Measures to improve credibility and accuracy of infrastructure budget. Placing more focus on the capability of provincial departments to deliver projects before budgets are allocated, and the undertaking of regular performance reviews of projects timeously guided by the accounting officers on interventions required, and even myself and my office will be part of those interventions with the relevant MECs in every project. More recently, Provincial Treasury embarked on a process to link payment schedules of professional service providers to their deliverables with clear milestones, financial value, and work scope of work. It is therefore imperative that all infrastructure departments manage the payment of invoices against these criteria and pay invoices through electronic invoice system that we have established as GPG, because it's necessary and it's important and it eliminates all sorts of bureaucratic issues. Each of us should make a concerted and dedicated effort to get maximum value for money where we use private sector to design and construct our infrastructure project. We will be revisiting some of those that are working with us, consulting, because we believe that that's another area that we should cut cost if it's necessary. The cost of delivery of infrastructure remains high given our fiscal constraints. The province will have to work towards reducing costs associated with infrastructure delivery management. It is crucial that we join hands in ensuring that institutional environment in which our various infrastructure units work within departments and remain committed towards good governance. Our infrastructure deliverables should be focusing on doing the right thing in the right manner to get optimum results within an open, transparent, honest and respectful manner. With regards to payment to suppliers within 30 days, GPG has implemented the initiatives that resulted in the improvement of payment of suppliers within the prescribed time frame. To date, 7 departments are paying 100% of their invoices within 30 days, whilst 5 are paying 95% of these invoices within 30 days. Suppliers play a vital role in contributing to the Gauteng provincial government ability to honor its supply payment obligations within the prescribed time frame. Suppliers are therefore requested to assist GPG by ensuring that they follow issues correctly that could lead to the delayed payments addressed by them. Delivery of goods and services should be in accordance with the specification and quantities as per the official purchase orders, and verbal or telephonical orders should not be accepted. Invoices must be accurate in terms of quantities and values and must meet SARS legal prescript and may not be submitted prior to the delivery of goods and services. Suppliers' banking details and tax compliance status must be to date and accurate. All suppliers are also encouraged to register for the electronic invoice submission system, an online invoice tracking portal. This cost-effective, efficient system allows the electronic submission and tracking of invoices at any time at no cost to suppliers. This impact of lower revenue projection and government's policy of fiscal consolidation would require us to exercise a great deal in enhancement of our own revenue and subsequent expenditure in the years ahead. Provincial owned revenue plays a significant role in augmenting national transfers and providing resources for provincial determined priorities. Over the current 2020 MTF, we expect to collect 21.2 billion in our own revenue. Revenue estimates are expected to increase by 11%, which is above the normal baseline, specifically for motor vehicle licenses, casino licenses, whilst the other revenue sources remain at the baseline over the medium-term period. The Department of Roads and Transport contributes through license fees, followed by the Gauteng Department of Economic Development with casinos and horse racing taxes. The Department of Health with patient fees and Treasury through interest earned. We are currently working on a revenue enhancement strategy and will share with the honorable members after it has been finalized. Key initiatives include new casino regulations, moving from the flat rate to flexible tariff structures, reviving and upscaling impounding facilities, weigh bridges operations, automation of visitor parking and health facilities, licensing of private hospital facilities, and roadside advertising revenue. Madam Speaker, I now turn to the adjustment budget, which revises the Appropriation Act of 2019, tabled at the Gauteng Legislature on the 5th of March this year. Adjustment budget affords provincial treasurer an opportunity to present information that has changed significantly since the current budget was tabled to the legislature. The proposed adjustment appropriation considers rollovers of unspent 2018-2019 funds, shifting of funds between votes and allocation from unallocated ring-fenced infrastructure resources. In total, expenditure will be revised upwards by 443.9 million, and this increases the 2019-20 provincial budget to 132.9 billion. The details of equitable share rolled over from 2018-19 financial year to the 2019-20 financial year as stated below. Economic development received a total of 23.7 million, of which 14.7 million is for the payment of outstanding invoices that are related to procurement of ICT equipment, as well as to the maintenance of metal detectors and the payment of rental expenses. 7.1 million is for accruals. The remaining balance is made up of 91700 for the payment of intergovernmental debt and 944000 for commitments emanating for the Consumer Bus project. Education is granted a total rollover of 46.2 million in order to settle unpaid invoices, of which 20.7 million is for the municipal services and 25.5 million is for the school furniture. Human settlement has been given a rollover amounting to 26.3 million. This money includes 12 million for the payment of invoices in respect of the procurement of tools of trade for employees, 8.9 million for property rates and taxes, 5.4 million for data migration and testing application for development systems, administrative services, and database administration. Community safety receives a rollover of 11.7 million, of which 7.9 million is for the procurement of safety kiosks, 2.4 million is for the procurement of firearms, and 1.4 million is for the procurement of and installation of lifts at Ikayale Temba building. Agriculture and Rural Development is granted a rollover amounting to 3.2 million for transfers of Agriculture Research Council to fund a research project. Additional commitments that will be funded through these resources include the plant pest identification and Sibukeng Zone 10 Agri-Park, Aikenof irrigation project, hydrophonic tunnel repairs, production service video and biotechnology program. Sports, arts, culture and recreation will receive a total rollover of 8 million for commitments associated with the completion of infrastructure projects and other operational costs. Conditional grants adjusted upwards as a result of the rollover of unspent funds from 2018-19 financial year are as follows. Comprehensive HIV and AIDS grant and TB grant, 9 million is approved as a rollover for the payment of invoices for the procurement of medicine. Health professionals training and development grant, 33.2 million is approved for a rollover to pay for the procurement of medical allied equipment dedicated towards the training of registrars. National Tertiary Service Grant, 252.2 million, is approved as a rollover for unspent funding from the 2018-19 financial year to enable the department to pay invoices related to the procurement of medical equipment in various institutions. Human papillomavirus, I tried my brother to read this one. It's called Hpv Grant. It's 5.4 million is rolled over for the payment of invoices in relation to training material, travel claims, medicine for provision of vaccines, aimed at reducing the incidence of cervical cancer amongst the target group. Human Settlement Development Grant, the department is allocated rollover of 49.4 million to honor certain contractual commitments in respect of various projects pertaining to creation of sustainable and integrated human settlement. Title Deeds Restoration Grant, a rollover of 4.3 million, is approved to enable the department to fund contractual commitments. Comprehensive Agricultural Support Grant, 1.6 million is rolled over to allow the department to pay invoices which could not be settled before the year end. Economic Development received an additional amount of 33.4 million for the Gauteng Gambling Board Business Automation Project, which will enhance revenue maximization in the gambling environment. Social Development budget is adjusted upwards by 60.7 million, primarily to accommodate repairs and maintenance of existing facilities. Health is allocated additional resource of 320.2 million, primarily for planning and procurement of occupational health, safety repairs and refurbishment maintenance program. Premier, on that one, MEC had a fight with me, and I'm maintenance program and projects for the currently at a construction stage. Department also received a total of 59 million for health revenue incentive scheme, which 56 million is for the payment of revenue collecting agencies, and 3 million is for the procurement of 3 to 4 computers and a network printer to be used by revenue assigned officials in the top 15 institutions. Roads and Transport received an additional allocation of 91.4 million for maintenance and repairs of existing roads in the province. Community Safety is allocated an additional of 5.5 million in order to settle accruals on the chief fleet account, plus additional 1.6 million that is made available to reimburse the department for expenditure incurred on behalf of Road Traffic Management Corporation. Gauteng Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, the department received an additional allocated 5.6 million for the implementation of operational Isigayo milling plant in Randfontein as part of its focus on value-added through agro-processing. Honorable Speaker, this is a maiden adjustment budget speech and the first medium-term budget policy statement of the 6th administration. Accordingly, it is my singular honor and privilege to be assigned a dedicated team that I've been working with throughout the compilation of this adjustment budget. The delivery of this adjustment budget appropriation bill is the collective work from the Gauteng Provincial Government departments, and it is also assuring to be the standing on the shoulders of a formidable team. In the midst of a lot of bad news that have been coming on our way as the country, downgrades, drought, all kinds of strikes happening, racial tensions, problems in political parties, and so on, the triumph of the Springbok at the beginning of this month lifted up the spirit of the nation. The triumph of the rugby national team demonstrated what winning teams are made of. As the Gauteng province, we need the mentality of a winner as we tackle the difficult challenges that will be confronted in the period ahead. I would like to thank you, Honorable Premier, for his leadership and colleagues in the EXCO, the Finance Portfolio Committee, led by Honorable Mpisi, SCOPA, led by Honorable Kanyile, HODs, and all other stakeholders for their continued support in ensuring the prudent fiscal position in the province remains stable. A special thanks goes to all the finance MMCs from municipalities for all facilitating required reports quick enough in preparation for the adjustment bill. Thank you to my family for their patience and support during the extended hours of work and missing out on family engagements and events, including my 2 kids that I'm always not there for them. Lastly, let me express my appreciation to the officials of Gauteng Provincial Treasury, led by Ms. Nomfundo Chabalala, for their hard hard work and ensuring that the department delivers its mandate. Madam Speaker, I present this MTBPS for consideration by the House and by all the people of Gauteng, as it outlines the context within which we must fund the plan of Premier David Makhura of ensuring that we all work together to grow Gauteng as a team. I therefore want to table the following documents. The first one is the 2019 medium-term budget policy statement. The second one is Gauteng Provincial Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2019. Third one is the 2019 adjustment estimates of provincial revenue and expenditure. The fourth one is the 2019 adjustment estimates of capital expenditure and the copy of my speech. I thank you, Madam Speaker. Ndiyabulela, ndiyabonga.